Hi Ramakanth, welcome to the Hatch Storyteller series. And we're really excited to hear your story and the problems you're solving and everything you've learned along the way. So let's kick off with tell us a little bit about Fanlytiks, the company, what problems you're trying to solve. We'll start there.
Fanlytiks provides business intelligence for sports rights holders, brands, leagues, and fantasy and esports companies.
Wow.
Right? So we track fans on all these fan verticals, fan engagement verticals. What do they do, right? We take them from the journey of a flirt.
Yeah.
Like the first time they see a sports team and then get attached. The first time they play a fantasy game and then convert them into a fanatic, right? A loyal fan.
Right.
Right? A fan is the revenue, the currency for a sports team or for sports rights holders. So we want to measure their journey across these platforms through time.
Right. And so when you talk about you're tracking somebody from a follower or flirting, following to a fan, where do you collect all this data from? So what's your source of information for all of these?
So it's live streaming.
Yeah.
Which is cross-platform, right? iOS app.
It could be social
media.
And social media, yeah.
And gaming. So we have cross-platform SDKs to do that, which auto-tracks UI and content interaction, right?
Got it.
When it comes to content, it's everywhere. Yeah. It's social media and it's on app platforms.
Right.
So people watch the game, they engage with player photos, player profiles, they engage with different kind of sports content.
Right.
And videos, in-game moments, off-game moments, gossips, memes, right?
Wow.
And it's like 365 day of data collection because a sports can happen anywhere, anytime, all around the globe, right?
Yeah. Who would be your customer? What are some example use cases that you have seen that people...
Data-driven marketers in sports companies.
Got it.
Right.
So so it would be like
it could be an agency that is managing brands who are sponsoring sports, right? It could be this league itself where they have good digital presence.
Right.
And whoever is associated with in marketing to fans, right? During sports, it's a great way to market during sports. The sponsorship opportunity in sports, it's everywhere, LED board, social media, in-app.
Yeah. Okay, so these are all the ways. So they use this data to specifically have maybe targeted messaging to their
target messaging, ROI of sponsorship, find influencers, understand fan base, location, new opportunity, new places to grow, and what is your existing fans' mood? Are they happy with you?
Right.
Or
so some sentiment analysis of where the fans are. This is great. Maybe share a little bit about how you came about founding this company and idea and you also have a history of building other things in the past. So share sort of what is your journey and story.
So it's a 9 years journey.
Yeah.
9-10 years journey.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started off with programming. My first entry into programming was hacking websites.
Right.
And we during cyber wars were going on between countries.
Yeah.
So we were engaging with underground hackers. We were talking to them just to understand the technology. So we engaged with underground hackers on SQL injection, and then found the prevention methods to do that. Engaged with the underground hackers to find the prevention method, and then presented a research paper on database security. Right. During 2009, 2010. A million websites were exposed to these vulnerabilities, so we proposed a paper and went through the journey of understanding from the hackers, and then that was my first foray into programming. Right. Then during college, so I didn't attend my classes regularly. So instead of that, it was like programming, coding, learn JavaScript, learn Python, learn PHP.
Right.
And learned native Objective-C. Objective-C, the learning curve was too much, right? So it took some time to learn a good mobile programming.
Right.
And then I became CTO of a startup called WalletKit. Meanwhile, I did launch all these apps, but it was like one-man army, right? I just did the, I had consultant to do the design, and then I did did the app.
Coding and
And then I met my then co-founder Kevin. So I was in a accelerator, not an accelerator, like an incubator that helps startups. So my family, gave me an option of 6 months, right? You're doing this for 6 months, or you have to go to a job. So I had two options, either take a job or go find somewhere. Yeah. So Chennai.
So you had to figure out.
I had to figure out
either way. Either you're going to college or make sure you're doing something.
So after college, I chose a incubator in Chennai. It was really near to me. That was the nearest place. So I went there, got good mentorship from people there, met a lot of people. And then in one of an hackathon event, I met my co-founder. We complemented our skills, right? I was a good programmer.
Right.
Kevin was an hustler. He was a growth hacker.
Right.
And then we also met my another designer. So we are a hacker, hustler, and a pixel pusher team.
Right. Right.
So we did Wallet Kit, and we got funded early on, right?
Yeah.
We got funded before building the prototype. Right? We just got funded with the idea, the space. Apple just launched Apple Passbook, and 500 startups came to India at the time, Bangalore. That's a great story behind how we got funding.
Right?
It's on TechCrunch. So it's we found the investor in the lobby, pitched on the way to the cab, and then they decided to invest. We went to we went to Mountain View. That's where 500 startup was there. Spent 6 months there, and Urban. There was a company that wanted to acquire us. We turned it down and came back to India.
Right.
And then started. And the market wasn't really good on Apple Passbook. Companies either wanted to build on their own, or they just wanted to wait to test the market on how mobile wallets were doing. It was 2012.
Right.
So we did build a do-it-yourself dashboard. Had good agency customers from North America. And some Indian customers, but we weren't growing at a pace we were excited, right? It's a SaaS subscription model. We were growing at a pace we were excited.
Yeah.
And then we decided to pivot. We started building an anonymous app. It's a question and answer anonymous app. It was Ask.fm was the thing that time, but we wanted to build something where it's story based, right?
Right.
Like how Snapchat was before Instagram story. Now Instagram stories has question and answer, right? But we did this portrait mode, full screen background. You can choose images, you can choose content. Create wonderful question and answer in a bubble format. We did that. The first thing we did was to go after pure anonymous app. It was pure anonymous. Apple had to reject it.
Right.
Because of regulations.
Yep.
So we went through 2-3 build cycles. And then finally launched the app, and then we had great organic growth. Teenagers was our target market, right? So it was from 13 to 19, 22 years old. People from all around the world, organically, zero marketing cost. Organically, they found Ask Friends questions, Ask Friends Anonymous. Anonymous was the trend that time, right?
Right.
Zero marketing, and they came, downloaded the app, and then we had a community, right? We learned a lot on building a community, organic community. With great question and answers, beautiful visuals.
Right.
It was a great journey. And then me and my co-founder, we had to take a break. My co-founder had to take a break for his personal issues.
Right.
And then the whole journey of, sitting in a, my bedroom, there's 2 bedrooms. One bedroom was my place to sleep and one bedroom was our office space. Right? it turned out to be a suffocating environment. If you are in a room for years, right? It turned out to be suffocating, but it was a great journey. But the thing is, our developer, the lead developer there, he was kick-ass, right? We were always programming, always on learning cutting edge new technologies, right? We tried MQTT, we implemented MQTT for newsfeed, right? So we got all this real time newsfeed setup, there's no loading.
Yeah.
It was all pushed. We had great time exploring the tech, right? Even though we didn't promote it enough, the app, we learned a lot on tech part, on the back end, on how to, push data.
Yeah. And that was sort of the learning, all of those learnings then led into sort of, hey, now let's go address a space that, where you can build a meaningful
But my focus was purely engineering.
Yeah. Yeah, and you actually, we were talking earlier, you said you also took on designing. So you learned self-taught design. Is that sort of...
It was out of necessity, right?
It was out of necessity, yes.
Designers were costly, and then time.
Yeah.
I couldn't get them on time.
Right.
I always worked with a great designer. Is amazing, right? So we build... when we go take out an idea and then build it, it's like we do it in 2 days, right?
Right.
Just 2 days. I go to his home. His mom gives me coffee, gives me food.
Yeah.
We get there, we brainstorm. And then, purely try to achieve a prototype that is not in the market, and it's exciting and solving a problem.
Right.
We went through the journey of, designing an app prototype. But later, he had to move. He had his profession, he had his job.
Right.
So, and we couldn't hire a designer to start with, right? Because we didn't want to put money in before validating what we're doing.
Right.
We did build the engineering stuff, like the great SDKs, like cross-platform.
Yeah.
Auto-track UI and content interaction. You put the code and it auto-tracks everything, right? It auto-tracks iOS apps, it auto-tracks on runtime.
Yeah.
So we got good consultants to do that. And then I learned design out of necessity. Started with Sketch. So
right.
I couldn't use the other existing design tools because it wasn't modular. It wasn't easy to learn, but the Sketch design tool, like it was really, really good for us because it was really modular, and then I could design prototypes easily. There's a lot of plugins, resources available. Learned it. That's the tool, but we always had visualize the design in my mind, right? So getting what was on my mind into the
product,
digital pixels, the digital assets, right? That was really great, right? When I could do what I had in my mind, that was really great,
right?
And it all comes from the inspiration for the design all comes from using a lot of apps, using a lot of
Yeah, it sounds like you were pretty busy and active in the App Store in terms of building apps for the stores, but also constantly reviewing and consuming and understanding that. So it sounds like you always had a vision for how you wanted your experience to be, and this was a way to.
Yep.
So it's really interesting because you are a technical person and can code, but now you get to exercise the creative side of your brain and bring these ideas.
Yeah.
That's very rare and unique. It's very hard to do both. So
it's easy.
Now it's easy.
You just have to put time.
You have to put time. Okay. You've started your product and sounds like you're in beta and doing some pilots. Like, what is your next milestone?
So our next milestone is it's current milestone, right? And the plan is to be in 12 months to be self-sufficient and then have good revenue mode, right?
Right.
Have great revenue stream. Mm-hmm. That's our only focus right now. Solve customers' needs and then just go for revenue. Excellent. Go for revenue.
Excellent. And tell us a little bit about your team size. Like, how big is the team now? And
so we have 10 amazing developers and then 2 amazing interns.
Okay.
We always hire interns.
Right. Obviously, they get good experience and you get value out of creating.
Yep. Interns sometimes do the best work.
Right.
Right. They come with a fresh beginner's mind.
Yeah.
And they do a great work. We have backend, full stack, mobile developers, both that can do native and then hybrid apps.
Right. Okay.
And front end, great React, GraphQL developers.
Why did you pick DigitalOcean, and how is it helping you in your journey?
So it's just not my choice, it's the team's choice, right?
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
developer team's choice.
Yeah.
It's the flexibility that DigitalOcean gives, the simplicity to use set up the dev environments, right? Increases our developer productivity, and the freedom to innovate and freedom to choose our own tech stack, right?
Right.
DigitalOcean, it gives you droplets and it gives you instances that can scale, but also you can choose your own tech stack.
Right.
That's the
for you freedom was important, right? And you were exploring a lot of technologies when we were talking yesterday, so that was a good big reason for you. So that's great. And one of the other things sounds like you've gone through now at least 2 journeys of coming up with ideas and bringing them to life, maybe even 3, but tell us, for folks who are listening and or viewing and are also thinking about going on their own startup journey, are there any lessons that you have learned along the way that you could share tips or advice on, or you just share lessons that you learned that others could pick up from?
It's always important to validate your ideas,
right?
But there's another like 10-20% side where you have to trust your gut and then follow your ideas, follow your visualizations, right? You follow what you want to do. It's each one has their own journey. You just have to do and then learn, right? There's no other shortcuts.
Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah. Just do it and then you will learn yourself. But do follow people who have done launch products, who have done the work, who have done the hard work, right?
Yeah.
And then just execute. Just execute.
Yep. And then is there any learnings on, one of the things, like go-to-market or product market fit? I mean, I'm always impressed when companies, especially, you have a broad platform you're building and you could have very different types of customers. And so are there any learnings around, how you sort of focused on, okay, for these types of customers, this is the right feature set and hence the pricing, packaging, SaaS? Like, where are you in that journey?
Branding is the key, right?
Yeah.
To attract, branding is the key, and rebranding yourself over every year, that's the key.
Right.
In terms of our services and products, we do 50% of services right now, and then we are focusing on a SaaS platform, which is social media analytics. Eventually, we want 100% to be, SaaS. SaaS. But the service journey, I really hated to do service, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, nobody enjoys doing that, but it sounds like that's where you are learning a lot.
Key, right? That gives you direct access to customers, direct access to business requirements and market requirements.
Yeah.
And then you learn through the journey and apply your ideas, and then you convert it into a product.
Into the product, yeah. If you have any recommendations, it could be books or it could be blogs or podcasts, like, do you have any tips on folks who are starting out or building products? Like, what are some resources, you use or you recommend others use?
Find the doers.
Yeah.
Just find the doers and follow them. Like this, like follow them in Twitter, follow them in Medium, right? Follow their blogs. There's no specific people because, genius people come from all around the world, all around the place.
Of course, yeah.
They just start off, so just find people who are just starting off, right? Just, pushing things into the world.
Yeah.
Just follow the doers.
Following doers, and that's where you get a lot of your inspiration. What about, and then are there any, I'm curious, because you've played with a lot of apps and you've consumed a lot of apps. Where do you find your inspiration? It could be from a individual or from experiences, or like, how do you get your inspiration on the things you work on?
I think it adds up to your subconscious product place, There's some place in your brain that's, dedicated to product.
Yeah.
You just consume, and then you find the difficulties, right? Okay, this could have been solved this way, too many frictions.
Right.
And you take those things subconsciously, and when you get into the flow of building the product, it just automatically happens in your brain. You just have to find, how could I have done this differently? Wow, they did this great, right? So just to identify while consuming, not just caught up in the content, but also on the delivery of the content through the tech.
Yeah.
Just to always have that thinking where, how did they deliver to me, right? What tech did they use? Why is this fast? Why is this slow? Just analyze.
What have you learned, or what advice would you give to those who might also go on this journey? Advice around raising money and financing.
Access to capital has grown exponentially.
Right.
So there are a lot of places where you can get capital, right? Whether you are just starting the prototype, just had the idea, or you just formed a team and you want to look for something to solve.
Right.
Access to capital has increased. But find someone who you can relate to in terms of your vision, right? Who will support your vision no matter what, who look long term. Find someone who has good portfolio so that you have early beta customers, beta testers.
Right.
That's about it. And then, are they providing you intellectual capital?
Yeah.
Other than finance, right? Money is not the only thing.
Money is not the only thing. You are looking at a lot more beyond just getting the funding. So, you mentioned you get inspiration from doers. Do you have an example of a doer that you can share that inspires you?
The first doer that I can think of is my investor, Mr. Muralidharan from Global Sports Commerce.
Wow.
I like him because of his work ethic, discipline, integrity, and access. And the intellectual capital, right? So he's always there, always working, always talking to customers. Like he also helps us with distribution, right? So, and we can leverage the team he has built around, in his portfolios.
Thank you so much, Ramakanth, for sharing your insight and stories. Sounds like you have an amazing platform that you're building, and also really interesting that how you're approaching the enterprise market and selling to so many different verticals. So thanks for sharing your insights, and congrats on your journey to date, and looking forward to even more success in your upcoming milestone. Thank you.
Thank you for DigitalOcean to taking us to Hong Kong.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome.